Good evening, I'm Dike Rostant. Welcome back to the TTT News. We are going in depth on the higher education loan program HELP as well as GATE with none other than the Director of Funding and Grants Administration, Division of Ministry of Education, Mr. Urban Huggins. It's time for In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Welcome, Mr. Huggins. Thank you so much for being here. I want to start off, though, getting a definition of what GATE and HELP are and what are their goals.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rostant. GATE is an acronym for Government Assistance for Tuition Expenses, and HELP is an acronym for the Higher Education Loan Plan. They are programs in respect to GATE. GATE offers financial assistance to those citizens of Trinidad and Tobago who are desirous of pursuing tertiary education. HELP also is a low-interest loan facility that assists students with non-tertiary expenditure as well as tuition expenditure. And the objective of GATE is to make tertiary education affordable and to also have a wider access to tertiary education for students who are desirous or citizens of Trinidad and Tobago who are desirous of pursuing tertiary education.
And in terms of increasing that access a little bit, who are some of the persons to say, okay, well, this is the person that this program is supposed to help? Who's the intended target audience?
Any citizen of Trinidad and Tobago under the age of 50 years old and pursuing tertiary education in an approved institution will be eligible for GATE funding or access to the HELP loan.
And when you say approved institution, are those just within the borders of Trinidad and Tobago, a little further outside CARICOM? How wide does that net go?
At present, we have two regional institutions that are enrolled in the program or approved in the program. They're the University of the West Indies in Mona, Jamaica, and University of the West Indies at Cayfield. And we also have a relationship with the University of Technology in Jamaica that assists students with agricultural studies.
Now, it's one thing to say, okay, well, I'm getting money to help me go and pursue studies, but how far does that take me? Are there limitations? What are the parameters of the assistance?
Okay, I will deal with GATE in the first instance. A student who is enrolled in a program that is approved and is eligible for funding, they will first apply for GATE funding. In recent times, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, of course, have been looking at the funding, and we have reintroduced new policy measures, and every student will be eligible for what we call it a means test. Once a student is eligible, and the objective is to assist those that are most vulnerable. What we have done, or what the government has done, is to provide an assistance to target those who are most vulnerable. And the means test is the tool that is being used to assist with those things. What we will do is that students who are household incomes which are less than $10,000 will receive 100% GATE funding. Household incomes that are between $10,000 and $30,000 will receive 75% of the GATE funding. Household incomes that are between $30,000 and $75,000 will receive 50% of GATE funding. And those household income that in excess of $75,000 per month will not be eligible for GATE funding. We will fund students for the duration of their program. So most programs that are 3 years will fund you for 3 years, and those who are in the medical program will fund you for 5 years. And that's basically how we do it. The HELP loan will assist students with the non-tertiary, the non-tuition expenses. Since GATE deals with some of the tertiary, we recognize that HELP is a low-interest loan facility which is designed to assist students who are desirous of pursuing tertiary education and also to provide access to tertiary education as well. What it is that we're looking at with the HELP loan is that you will not pay any interest, or you will not be repaying the loan during your course of study. The government will be paying your interest during your course of study. And what will happen is that at the end of it, we will then convert you, 6 months after, it will be converted into a loan, of which the government will continue to assist you with paying 4 percentage points of the interest of the loan. The banks are expected to give you the interest rate at prime, which is at present around 7 or 8%. So all you'll be paying is 3 or 4% of the interest on the loan. While once you have graduated and you start to work.
And that's one of the things that I wanted to ask, because it's all well and good to say, okay, well, I'm getting money to go towards my tuition, but you can't eat the books. So being able to try to access help, is it something that you can access simultaneously at the same time you're trying to access GATE funding?
Certainly. Once you are enrolled in a program and you're performing, now performance is the key to accessing both GATE and help. What will happen is that at the end of each academic year, you will need to provide your transcript to the GATE office or the Funding and Grants Department, and we will assess your ability to continue for funding. We will look now, the universities and the tertiary education has given us the minimum performance standard for each tertiary institution that they believe to be acceptable for students to move forward. If you do not have that minimum performance standard, you will not be eligible for GATE for that particular semester or term. You will have to bring up your GPA to the minimum performance standard in order to be eligible. Once you're eligible for GATE funding, you will be eligible for the help funding. Recently, we've changed some of the help loans to assist students who are not eligible for GATE but are enrolled in a program. So the help will be able to assist, but we will not help you, give you a help loan if you are a non-performing student.
And that answer, I really appreciate it. We have about 2 minutes on this side before we take the break, but I really appreciate the fact that you say it may be for a semester, because sometimes people get very serious when they realize, hey, what? No, this is serious things. And is this information something that the student and their guardians will sign to when they're accessing the funding in the first place?
Every student, when they're accessing GATE, will sign the application form, and the institutions should inform the student of the terms and conditions of the grant, the GATE grant. So we expect institutions to be informing and guiding their students accordingly. Because they give the students the form to sign in order to apply for the GATE claim. So we hope that students do read the application to see exactly what are the terms and conditions of the grant that they've been afforded.
Especially when you're going to so many places to read for your degree. But then you also have the instance like when someone wants a new app on their phone or their computer, they just click okay, or they sign, and say, okay, well, give it to me. But we continue the conversation when we return. We're speaking with Mr. Urban Huggins, Director of Funding and Grants Administration at the division at the Ministry of Education. In Depth with Dike Rostant, it continues when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are going in depth on GATE and help funding with Mr. Urban Huggins, Director of Funding and Grants Administration Division at the Ministry of Education. Now, just before we took the break, Mr. Huggins, you were saying that students or applicants are signing on to, so they know exactly what it is they're signing up for. But what happens after you get your degree and you've gotten this degree with the help of help and or GATE funding?
We expect students to contribute to Trinidad and Tobago, basically. You are not expected to come back and to repay the government the GATE grant that we've paid. The contribution that we expect from beneficiaries is to really contribute towards the development of Trinidad and Tobago. So once they are working within Trinidad and Tobago, whether in the private or public sector, those years of service goes back towards the repayment of the service of GATE grants. For example, if your GATE grant is under $50,000, we will expect that you will service for at least 1 year within the country in order to satisfy your obligatory requirements to the government of Trinidad and Tobago. If your GATE grant exceeds $250,000, which more or less with the medical field and engineering and these high-end fields, we expect that you will contribute at least 5 years towards the development of Trinidad and Tobago.
And I ask that sometimes because you hear stories. I mean, and this is not just specific to Trinidad and Tobago, but brain drain is a real thing. You find someone, they go to school, they get a position that is a little comfortable, and they stay there. So that expectation is there. So more or less dealing with the expectation that people will do the right thing. Is this what I get from you?
Yes, we expect citizens who benefit from the services, because education is a very expensive option. Very, very expensive. And the whole idea behind the GATE program and access to tertiary education, because you have to remember the only Caribbean country in the Eastern Hemisphere that offers tuition assistance to tertiary students is Trinidad and Tobago. Barbados attempted it sometime in 2015 or 16 and they had to stop. So it is really, really, really a benefit and a commitment that is being made by the government of Trinidad and Tobago to assist students with their tertiary education. As I said with the means testing, because of the contraction of the economy and the fluctuation in prices of gas and oil, we had to go to the means testing, which is really a shared model of funding tertiary education, where we expect parents or individuals who have the ability to contribute towards the education to assist. And that is when we had the bars with respect to 10,000 and 20,000, etc. But the whole objective is to really have a sharing cost model, so that everybody will be able to get assistance, and certainly the persons who are most vulnerable will get 100% assistance, as well as with the help loan. A similar situation arises.
And that leads on to my question, in the sense that you said that we haven't stopped in the case of the way that Barbados did, but there have been adjustments to the situation.
Yes.
And looking at the fact that there's less of a pie to be sliced, but at the same time it has not stopped, but it has changed. And the fact that these bans exist also makes me think that there's more of an opportunity to put your money where your mouth is, saying you want the best for your child, in addition to having the person who receives this funding think that this is serious business. Because I've heard stories of people, okay, well, I'm here, I'm there on GATE funding, and I'm not necessarily taking the academic aspect of my school experience the most seriously. Is that something that you hope that the restructuring will help to change?
Certainly. In November 2020, there were changes to the program. The government made a decision, or cabinet agreed, to fund one program. In the past, the government would have assisted you to do a certificate course, then they would have assisted you to go on and do a diploma, an advanced diploma, an associate degree, and then a degree. So you had 4 access levels towards the degree, and then they would have assisted you to the degree. What the government has asked citizens to do is to say, look, it is difficult for us to continue funding you incrementally for you to matriculate at present. So what they have asked them to do is to select one level of funding that you will want the government to fund, and you could assist yourself prior to it. And of course, in order to make that adjustment, the help loan was adjusted to assist students who are desirous, like who want to do a certificate course. They could borrow from the help loan and then go on to the degree which the government will pay for. So these are some of the programs and initiatives that have been put in place to support citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
And I want to circle back to the top of the conversation now, Mr. Huggins. So we have an idea, the means test is there, some of the divisions in terms of who gets what in terms of help and GATE, but how does someone contact the division? What are some of those timelines? Where do you get the means test? Is it online? Does someone need to come in and get it physically? Take me through that process, thank you.
Excellent. Very, very good question. Thank you for asking. Every student should have the responsibility to apply for their GATE funding annually. And this is one of the challenges that we face. And institution, because the institution want to know who is paid for their funding. And students tend sometimes, because access is so easy, they just go and sit down in class and feel that they don't need to think. But they need to sit down and apply annually. How does the process work? If you're a new student who have just completed your CAPE exams and your CAPE and CSEC and you go into any tertiary institution, you will need to get what we call a GATE e-service ID. You can apply to TT Connect within your neighborhood or within your area, and you can get a GATE e-ID password, and that is used to enter into the system, and you'll use that to apply for GATE. When you apply for GATE, what we ask you to do is to upload a couple of things we'll need to know. First of all, we need to know that you're a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. We need to know, in the past we had issues of persons, because of free tertiary education, and they attempted to come back to get into, so you need to show consistent residency for 3 years as well. And once it is that you have these documents, and then you submit your ID and a utility bill to confirm the address. And this is what we ask you to apply for. And of course, you must have an acceptance letter from the institution that you want to go to, which is saying that you have been enrolled and accepted into a program at this particular university. So these are some of the basic documents that you'll need to upload to the Funding and Grants Division in order to apply for GATE. For a first year student, we will just run you through, and that should be adequate. And of course, most importantly, we'll ask you to upload your financial information, which speaks to the means testing, to ensure that the persons who we helping deserve to get the 100%, the 50%, or the 75%. So we'll ask you, and all that is uploaded, your financial information is uploaded within the application process, and we are committed to try and process that within 3 months. On average, we have about 30,000 students annually applying for GATE, and the first semester is really hectic, very, very difficult, but we manage. Once it is that you have been approved, what you will do is we'll send the approved application back to the institution, and the institution will know exactly what it is the government of Trinidad and Tobago is prepared to pay for you, and then based on it, you will pay whatever difference you have to pay to the institution. When it comes to your second year, we will ask you to, in addition to those documents that we asked in year 1, we will now ask you to upload your transcript. And when we look at your transcript, we will determine if you're now eligible for funding for your second year. Like UE has a 2.0 GPA as your minimum performance standard. So once it is that you have in excess of a 2.0, you will be able to access funding. GATE will not pay for your repeat courses. If it is that you fail a course and you need to repeat it, you will be responsible for the payment of that particular course. And basically, that's where we are going with it. With respect to the help loan, as you rightfully said in an earlier contribution, although government pays your tuition, there are many students who live far away and they may want to rent closer to the institution. So the help loan will assist you with things like accommodation, living expenses, books, and maybe even through, if you need some equipment that is necessary for your course of study.
But do not expect the mansion with the swimming pool. We're just trying to get your stuff and get out of there.
Right.
But I want to say we want to thank you very much, Mr. Huggins, and is always the mark of a good conversation where there's a little more that we could have thrown in. But we want to thank you very much, Mr. Urban Huggins, Director of Funding and Grants Administration Division at the Ministry of Education. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, we want to thank you for tuning in to In Depth. Thank you for joining us.